Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Ogre Kingdoms led by Tom, facing off against Zinch, who's going to be helmed by the Mats here on the Putrefying Carcass, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty meta Ogre build for the most part, with Lead Belchers being the backbone, and they're going to be getting protected by a front line of Gnoblars, and in terms of dealing with single entities and big scary threats, we have Man-Eaters with pistols, one of which is going to be the ROR, and I think there's one regular one over here as well. Alright, so, Ogre Army, Gnoblars, Lead Belchers. Lead Belchers are one of the best units on the roster, pretty much good against, like, every matchup. I'm trying to think if there's a matchup and maybe you don't go Lead Belcher. Perhaps if you're facing, like, an artillery-centric faction on an open field map that can rock, like, cannons or cannon equivalents, or some sort of a monstrous ranged infantry unit that can outrange them, like the Ushapti Grapo, for example, they could be a little bit dodgy, but aside from that, man, they just put so much hurt down. They have great range, and, you know, they can stand in the pocket like an NFL quarterback and put some hurt out. So it is going to be Lead Belchers. And in terms of dealing with flying chickens, Zinch is known for its flying shenanigans between the Lord of Change and then Changebringers flying overhead and just roasting you. You need something like this. Sure, the Lead Belchers can shoot at them, but the Man-Eaters with pistols are going to be able to react better, and worst case scenario, they can fight in melee pretty well. Caster is going to be a Heaven's Caster, so it looks like he's going to be using Wind Blast to clear out chaff units, and then also does have Curse of the Midnight Wind. So that's a little bit off meta, I would say, the Curse of the Midnight Wind, but Wind Blast is a solid spell. It's very, very good. And it does have a slow on it now. I believe it didn't in the previous patches. They did redo the Heaven's Magic recently. And yeah, that's really good, lowering speed by 40% and acceleration as well. All right, for the Zinchian army. Big Dog here coming in with some Marauder Horsemen of Zinch. Pretty standard stuff to grab the objectives. Now, he does have Halberds and Forsaken. That's going to be the core of his army. Halberds are, of course, good against Ogres, but where they really struggle against the shooting, against like Lead Belchers and pistol mobs, not pistol mobs, so Man-Eaters with pistols, man, they can get wrecked really bad. And one of the other things you want to watch out for is not having your Chaos Warriors just get tar pitted by Gnoblars and then shot to pieces. It could be rough. But yeah, if they can get in combat with any like actual Ogre units, they can do some work. So we got Forsaken, just an all-around good unit. Forsaken hit incredibly hard, fast, furious, good at pressuring objectives, diving opponents' backfields, what's not to love. Now, we have the big, I wouldn't say elephant in the room, but it's the big dog here in the woods. It's going to be the Changeling, and what is he going to be transforming into? Now, I could spoil it by scrolling over his transformation, but I think it's going to be a little bit more fun, myself included, to find out what it's going to be here in just a minute. Alright, so High Ground is going to be going to Ogres, and the Swamp's going to be going to Shrek. He is going to be reclaiming his Swamps here, and we'll do a tiny bit of fast-forwarding while the players posture on the objectives right there. And call-in is going to be more Gnoblar Trappers here. And Zinch, are they calling in anything funny here? Wow, a massive Legion of Air. Okay, so it's going to be Screamers, Screamers, and some Furies. Look, that's a lot of diving for sure, and Screamers can do some decent work against Ogres. The only downside is they have incredibly low melee defense, so even against chaff units or just basic Ogre Bulls, they get Shrek'd pretty badly. And now we see the Lead Belcher shooting opening up. Halberd's already brought down to half health and potentially going to be penalized even further because this is water here, so if they're fighting in shallow water, infantry get penalized, monstrous infantry don't, because the Ogres are tall enough to not really care about the water, and man, that Lead Belcher shooting is hurting. So Zinch is going to have to get a ton of value with his dive here, and we do see one Screamer diving in, getting on top of the Lead Belchers here. Fury's going to be descending on the other side, and Man-Eaters with pistols is going to be getting attacked, but Powder Guts will be able to defend themselves. Oh my god, it's Scarbrand! Okay, so Big Dog Scarbrand is here, and he's going to be coming in. Is that Rage Embodied? It is. He doesn't have the items, but he does have the Rampage. Oh my god, that's so funny. So Scarbrand dives in, does use Rage Embodied, and these Powder Guts here are actually taking a considerable amount of damage. The only downside for Zinch is that these Screamers are probably going to get folded up here in a minute. Scarbrand is going to be on his own. But Halberds, Forsaken, moving through the front, having some degrees of success. Gnoblar's blocking these ones up, but the Halberds are going to be surging through the middle, while the Blood Vultures of the Ogre Kingdoms and Tom do start to trade well into the Screamers here. And the Forsaken, as well as the Halberds, moving to the high ground, but the Blood Vulture is going to be sacrificed to the Changer of Ways to buy time for the pistols to retreat back. So as it currently stands, this objective is owned by Zinch, and Zinch does have objective 3. Over here, objective 1 is going to be held by the Ogre Kingdoms, and the Ogre shooting is partially online. Yeah, the Lead Belchers are shooting again, and we do also see the Powder Guts able to stabilize, and they basically should just be putting all of their hurt down onto Scarbrand. Taking down the Changeling, Scarbrand's going to be pretty big. Obviously, when you use the Changeling and turn into something, you pay a little bit of a premium. It's not too much, and honestly, Scarbrand's a decent choice because he does get the Rampage ability and is a bit of a world beater character, so in some matchups, I think he's quite good, but risky here for sure, considering how good the Ogre shooting is. So the Screamers are unstable. Looks like they're going to be diminishing here as they do eat a lot of crossfire. The two Man-Eaters with pistols able to put hurt down. One Lead Belcher is able to stabilize. And the other Lead Belcher, I have no idea what they're doing over here. It looks like they maybe were getting chased by something, but they somehow ended up in Zinch's zone. I'm sure you guys saw that. You guys were able to kind of see what was cooking while I was focusing on something else there. But Yeah, Zeech is moving forward, man. Value trading does favor the old Chungus Kingdoms, and that's going to be a really nice Curse of the Midnight Wind, lowering stats, and Scarbrand is juking back and forth as ferociously as he possibly can while trying to get some cleaving attacks here. More Furies being sent in. Furies are going to be very disruptive against the Lead Belchers, and Tom needs to make sure he uses these Man-Eaters and or anything over here to protect these Lead Belchers. Letting these Belchers go is going to be a big problem, because then the only shooting is going to be the pistols, which will be very good against Scarbrand, but they're not quite as effective against the Halberd Infantry, in my anecdotal experience. I love that these random-ass Lead Belchers are just chilling back here. I think that the Mats, the Tzeentch player, doesn't know this either. He could grab his Marauder Horseman, go back here, and try and charge them. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but the Blood Vultures are now diving them there. All right, Scarbrand using Rampage once again, and I mean, these Rampages are pretty MLG pro gamer, man. He's luring his opponent into Halberds, right? Normally, the Powder Guts wouldn't be caught dead fighting a Halberd unit. They're relatively quick, but now they're dragged into combat with Tzeentch Halberds and Scarbrand himself. And yeah, I mean, look, if you can methodically remove all these range pieces, Scarbrand is going to carry this game, and he is going to be a big problem. So in the backfield, we have Man-Eaters with pistols, and they were being dove by something, but it looks like the Forsaken are going to be nibbled on by the Vultures, and Saber-Tusk packs coming in to support as well. Value does favor Tom, but overall, I mean, Scarbrand's doing all right, and I would say this is a pretty close game, as Tzeentch does have his opponent triple capped, and if he could just hold these 3 objectives for a while, it's going to put the Ogres in a very precarious position. Low ground, though. Ogres do have some Noblars. Oh, dude, do we have the Bogglars of the Mad Marshes coming in? The Forbidden. Oh, the evil Aquatics Noblars. So these guys, when they're in water, they get passive healing. That's so funny. And they actually have 9,000 HP, and they heal 1% of their HP per second. That's actually a lot, man. If you have those Bogglars in here fighting in the water, that's like actually a disruptive unit. Oh my god, I look away for 1 second, and Scarbrand gets hammered by the Powder Guts and by those Man-Eaters. Oh my goodness, they put a lot of hurt down into him, and that's a really, really big setback for Tzeentch here. He's going to be paying the Troll Tolls. The Changeling's at about 1,000 value right now. And the Bogglars of the Mad Marshes have made their way into the marshes, and this is like their natural habitat, man. That objective starts to go back to the Ogre Kingdoms. In the meantime, we do see the Marauder Horseman coming down here, and a Iridescent Horror. I was going to say, like, Tzeentch without magic is really bad. So he does have a Final Transmutation caster. Unfortunately, the Ogres aren't really blobbing up, but casting it over here is a bad idea. That's going to be nailing the Powder Guts and also getting the Saber Tusks potentially off the battlefield as well. So Marlon Scarbrando needs to basically rotate away from the guns, and now the Ogres are really starting to run away with the game a little bit. I didn't know, like, when I said it was close, I didn't see Scarbrand was at like 20%. But, you know, him getting hammered like that is really bad, and he's going to need to go over here and maybe fight a safer fight away from these pistol mobs, which are just doing so much damage. Zangor's coming in here, Zangor's coming in here, and that Final Transmutation didn't quite finish the job on the Powder Guts. They were actually able to live. But the Iridescent Horror going to be using his Laser Beams of Doom. Maybe going to be able to break those guys. We'll have to see how this goes. Tzeentch holding on to one objective right now. They are up in point, and Scarbrand trying to defend this point. He actually does. He knocks off those, I believe, Noblars. But the Bogglars of the Mad Marshes are ready to go, man. They're going to be setting up, throwing their Ninja Stars at Scarbrand, and the Powder Gut's going to be wading into the Forbidden Nurgle Swamp as well. So Tzeentch calling in Forsaken, no surprises here, but there are some Ogre Bulls with dual weapons, which are going to be very, very good against those guys. So it's looking kind of hard for Tzeentch. They're down by about 3,000 value plus with no healing. Looks like a Tzeentch army ability is going to be coming in right now. A good target. You know, hitting that mage is not bad. But homie's sitting at 1,800 HP, and he is not long for this world, ladies and gentlemen. He is certainly in a little bit of trouble. All right, objective number 1 here. What's going on? We do see it being controlled by the Changer of Ways, but the other 2 objectives have flipped to the Chunguses, so they're starting to feel a little bit comfortable here as the Ogre Bulls with dual weapons perhaps getting ready to move up. I feel like Powder Guts probably have a lot of value, about 2,000 value on them, and the other Man-Eaters with pistols going to be sitting at 1,500 value there, so certainly not bad at all. So Scarbrand hiding in the bushes, the bravest of Khorne Demons, but he has an excuse this time because it's not actually Scarbrand, it's the Changeling, so it makes sense for the cowardly Changeling to hide in the bushes. Is there any way that Tzeentch can get back in this game? Let's take a look here. So we got Ogre Bulls moving in. Zangor's going to get taken to Pound Town pretty bad. A big pocket of Ogre units over here. Noblars, Noblar Trappers, and a full health unit of Ogre Bulls with dual weapons, which will do very well against Forsaken equivalents. And here we got Iron Guts. Iron Guts are basically a hard counter against Forsaken. They have 100 armor to mitigate the Forsaken damage, bonus for infantry, great weapons to get through the 85 armor. I mean, yeah, just a counter against Forsaken in general. And these big boys going to be taking him to the club. As Scarbrand coming in for his final hoorah, going to be throwing his axes down. And just using Rage Embodied. You know, I like that. He's really embodying really role-playing and LARPing his Scarbrand right now. Just going in bloodthirsty, knowing things are about to get real bad, but just going for it anyways. You got to respect that grind right there. The Iridescent Horror moving in. And it looks like maybe a Final Transmutation here could be pretty good. Scarbrand is going to be going down right now, and the Ogres do have all 3 objectives. Curse of the Midnight Wind, not bad. I don't hate that. Lowering the armor is very good for like basic Ogre Bull units who don't have the best AP as well. Screamers being called in, but they're not going to be able to wrestle this back. This game is, in my opinion, pretty over. I'm trying my best to give the benefit of the doubt to the old Tzeentchian forces here, but I don't see what else they can do. As we see the legions moving in, Ogre Bulls are going to be arriving, and the Tzeentchian Spear is not doing bad. Final Transmutation, they are pretty good. It does hit a lot of stuff, actually. It's the Ogre Bulls, the Iron Guts, as well as the Vultures, and to the backside, we do see Centaurs of Tzeentch coming in. Tzeentch Army ability activated over here, able to tickle the pickle on these guys, and yeah, it's very, very good. Tzeentch Army ability is no joke, and some cool synergies with that, of course, with the Cultist and the Shrines, and generating winds of magic, but that is going to be the end of the road. Fun game. You know, out of the gates, it looked very Ogre favored, but then suddenly Scarbrand came in, got some nice little rampages. It looked, yeah, and then Scarbrand came in for Tzeentch, got some rampages, some decent Air Force engagements, and a lot of the shooting did get shut down, but never fully finished off. So I guess that was a bit of an issue. Value 700, 1200 here, 2000, and 2000 there. So yeah, the pistol mobs still were able to generate it, but you gotta love the Chad Scarbrand play. You know, I actually thought it was going to be a no magic Tzeentch build, which would have been absolutely bananas, but yeah, the Iridescent Horde in reserve, not bad at all. Now, as far as this matchup goes, if I was playing against Ogres with Tzeentch, I'm trying to think about what direction I would go. Let's actually go to the post-game screen and do a little bit of theory crafting here, because I've really been having quite a bit of fun playing Tzeentch lately. So we're going to go to custom battles. All right, so let's like assume it's the same map as well, right? So we're playing Tzeentch. Oh, man, yeah, tricky, right? Tricky. Tzeentch against Ogres. So do we present, I think you want to present a chaff-centric front line, something like this, and then maybe are we going to do like a big, wide like saturation of these kind of units and just try and like full court press? I don't hate the idea. Now, as far as Cav goes, I do like Centaurs of Tzeentch. I think a couple of them are good, especially if your opponent decides to go Mournfang. You always bring one Changebringer. You always bring one. Now, the Exalted Flamers of Tzeentch are going to get roasted too badly. I think they're going to have a bad time, so I don't know if you go that direction. Sartorial's not a bad choice. You could also just do like a little bit of blue fire spam. You could get like a Kairos type character maybe. Blue fire spam on those bad boys, and that's like all you do. So you can do the Void Pendulum, Staff of Tomorrows. You probably don't need that. Life Leeching is good. You can cut this one. Keep the Arcane Conduit. Oracle Save in case you mess up. And the rest of those items are pretty effective. So this is the idea with this is you just like blue fire spam the big boys like the Powder Guts and those guys a little bit before you get in there, you know, before you dive in to try and make them pay the troll toll a little bit. I think you do get Doom Knights too. Doom Knights of Tzeentch are really good. They can wreck a ton of Ogre units. Like, oh, that might actually just be the backbone, right? Like so let's cut these guys, and then you get them for the initial kind of a poke and stroke, and we'll get one more of these guys. I think that's all right. Yeah, because you have a little bit of fire. You can melt through the Noblars pretty quickly here. And then Zangors, I do think, are a decent reinforcement unit. Halberds I like a little bit better later on. Like, in the late game, you call in Halberds once things are more chaotic and they're more Ogre-focused. Out of the gates, they tend to be very Noblar heavy, so maybe we get 2 Zangors. We can get, like, 2 Halberds in here. The Doom Knight, though, I really like that. Furies, yeah, I think Furies. We go down to 1 Halberd. We get the War Screamer just for the Lamprey's Bite. Because that's pretty good at clearing out Noblar units. Do we really need the Centaurs of Tzeentch? I think maybe just one. And the Doom Knight in the starting army is very strong. And maybe do we go for a second Doom Knight? Or do we have too many air units right now? I think we have too many air units. So yeah, Doom Knights actually seem like they could be really good here. Obviously requiring a little bit of micro and finesse. We'll get Forsaken. And do we want to just double up on the Forsaken here? Get like 2 Forsaken. Not having like a ground-based cav unit is a little bit rough, but in many situations, those Centaurs of Tzeentch probably just going to get bullied, so let's just throw in a spear. This build feels pretty good, actually. Yeah, I like this. Like, you approach, you don't take a ton of cost, like, big damage. You try and press the objectives, and then you call in your second Doom Knight, and then you Alpha Strike with Kairos. So you blue fire to soften them up, you push up, you call in your second Doom Knight in a Fury, and you dive. Doom Knights are really, really tough to deal with for Ogres. Outside of using Mournfang Cav, they're just raid bosses, right? Yeah, it could work. Just an idea. Tinfoil hat. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you on the other side.